a song Charles Manson stole from the Beatles. We're stealing it back. A song Charles Manson stole from the Beatles. We're stealing it back.
It's up to us to remember what Kamala's mother told her. Don't just sit around and complain. Do something. So, if they lie about her, and they will, we've got to do something. If we see a bad poll, and we will, we got to put down that phone and do something. If we start feeling tired, if we start feeling that dread creeping back in, we got to pick ourselves up, throw water on our face, and what?
Turn myself on. Can you hear me out there, people? People, can you hear me? Hi, everybody. If you're happy to be watching, and even if you're not watching, or you're watching this later, hello, and welcome to a little show that we like to call Red, White, and Do Something. My name is Colin. I am a fan of democracy. I'm not going to lie. I enjoy myself some of the democracy. And we are extremely excited to be premiering this new streaming show, kind of on the basis of like, look, there's 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks now until Election Day. Is it too late for me to do anything about the coming apocalypse? And I say no. There is, definitely it is not too late. And as a matter of fact, I don't even know that apocalypse is coming because I got a good feeling that, we are going to work our asses off here and make sure it's apocalypse avoided. So welcome. Good to have you all with us. And I am super pleased and proud to invite to join us here one of my dearest, closest friends, an original podcast partner from way back when. You know her, you love her. I couldn't live without her. It's TV's Sharon Lord Greenspan. Sharon, how are you?
Hi, I'm coming to you live from my kids' room.
Oh, exciting.
So I could get some privacy for this conversation. And I just want to warn everybody in advance that you will hear a pug snoring in the background throughout.
I enjoy a pug, frankly.
Well, I never thought I would either, but now I'm obsessed with a pug. And I have to say, you can either find it annoying or you can find it incredibly relaxing. I find it the latter. So there we go. The snoring, I mean, not the pug.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, listen, Sharon, thank you for so much. We leaned upon the kindness of your husband, David, during the recently concluded Mets-Dodgers series to appear with us a number of times. And
yes,
he was,
you did great. Fantastic. I was so impressed.
My goal is to do a podcast with each and every member of your family. And so
even the pug.
Even the pug. I'm hoping the pug will come on for Pug Talk one day, this new dog-focused podcast we're starting. What do you do with a snoring pug? I don't know. Love him. I think that's basically the only option you have.
That's it.
Um,
Oh, I
it's
can't deal. It's so cute. I just
no, seriously, it's the best. I honestly thought like Gree or something was sleeping in the other room, and then it turns out no. That's not Gree. That's
they do dueling snores now. It's actually kind of fun.
oh yeah, then they are.
Mhm.
Well, listen, I want to let's start with just so people know like what they're seeing on the screen here. One thing that we talked about kind of before this was where do all the candidates stand on the issues, etc. And we've had a lot of confusion. I had an experience the other day with a friend who is a regular in my universe, younger, female, Latina, who I
Mhm.
I figured would be, receptive to the Kamala Harris, message, and she, was confused. Frankly, she didn't know who she was gonna vote for, and I found that to be fascinating because I thought there was plenty of information out there for even low information voters to have made their decisions already, or at least have an idea about like what the stakes are. And it was a real good reminder to me that online life is not real life. There are real people in the real world who have real concerns, and it is not figuring out who they're going to vote for president. It is a
Right.
privilege that people like you and I are able to consternate and worry
Yeah.
about, all
Mhm.
these things. But Sharon, what's been your experience with these other kind of voters where it's like almost, I shouldn't have been amazed by it, but I was.
Well, everything I've been reading is that Trump has a ceiling. Like people either love him or they hate him. There's nobody changing their mind no matter what he does. And he has done, well, just about every possible horrible thing and said every horrible thing. I mean, what more can we add to the list? And he just has a ceiling of like 46%. And so, what I'm understanding about the undecideds, it's not that they're deciding between Harris and Trump, but they're deciding between voting or staying home, just not
Right.
being. And so, so because most people, I mean, Trump is so in our faces and has been for nearly a decade that we all have formed an opinion. And I don't think that's shifting very much.
Right.
I can't imagine. So, was your person that you were talking to deciding between Harris and Trump?
Yeah, yeah, seemed to think that there were still some policy differences that she needed to work out, between the 2, that, she kinda wasn't completely sold on what Harris was offering and thought that, I don't know if it was that kind of, Trump amnesia, that people have talked about where it's like,
Yeah.
we you don't really remember that, oh, yeah, like, every week it was something. It was some scandal. It was some cabinet member, redecorating their office for $1,000,000. It was some, grift, some, improper use of government funds, some, self-dealing, to get the Secret Service to pay him 3 times the rack rate for rooms. All these things that just a
Yes.
constant drip of, like, corruption and grift,
And
and then
chaos.
and chaos, and then, of course, it all ended in the worst possible way with the deaths of over 1,000,000 Americans. And I
Mm.
really feel that, we how does a guy get a mulligan for 1,000,000 people dying on his watch? I have no idea. I don't think the number had to be that high,
Yeah.
frankly,
No, of
and
course,
that's the
he handled
job.
the
Protect
pandemic so badly. Yeah.
Right? So, I don't it's so weird. I heard Jake Tapper last night say something along the lines of, "Well, we're covering Kamala like a regular political candidate and subjecting her to the regular forces of grilling and whatever, and
Mhm.
Trump, we just he's a clown show, so we cover him like a clown show." And I saw
Right.
Dana Bash say, "Well, that's just the way it is."
Well,
Well,
I love what
it's not just the way
Kamala
it
said
is, it's the
about
way you're
him.
doing it.
Yeah, that he is an unserious man, but a serious threat.
Right.
And that's what's so hard for the media because, on one hand, he's talking about, Arnold Palmer's junk.
Good
And then
evening.
the next day, he's talking about, how we're all going to get thrown in the gulag if he, you know, like,
This
and
podcast
and
may
then
not get us
the
both.
Republicans keep trying to apologize for him. And he's like, no, 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 that's what I meant. Like, he's not, he's saying everything out loud. Um,
Yeah.
but, it, what I've been finding is that for me, um, it's it's more about, it's less about trying to understand why, and moving action to make sure that we do everything we
Oh,
can to prevent getting
yeah.
reelected.
Yeah. I wanted to bring in a little voice from the heartland here. We got a first cousin once removed, Joni Pop, in. Love you, Joni. Thank you for watching. She says, I agree. I was so surprised she talked to two people just yesterday. One said she was leaning toward Harris, but had not made a decision. And the other one said she was going to write in Nikki Haley. I said, oh my God. Well, exactly, Joni. That's the thing, when people, don't take it super seriously, it's like, people, 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 come on now.
Yeah,
Writing
the
in Nikki
write-in
Haley
vote
is
for
not going
Nikki
to help
Haley
anything,
helps nobody.
right? Speaking of
Well,
helping
it helps Trump.
nobody, well, yeah, it definitely does. I also wanted to get your take, Sharon, on something I've been seeing a lot of in the online left recently, which is the whole, I'm not voting for either one of them. He's a horrible felon rapist, but she's responsible for genocide. Um, I I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm wondering what am I missing here? There must be something, because these are people who I am tended in the past to agree with a healthy skepticism of American political power and American
Sure.
military power. I'm right there with you people, but I don't remember Kamala Harris being responsible for genocide. And
No.
that maybe just be a branding issue, or maybe there is a moral culpability that I don't see that you do for the actions and reactions in the world's most troubled place that has been troubled for thousands of years and will be troubling for thousands of years after this. But I don't know that Kamala Devi Harris is the one who's supposed to have solved that in the last year.
Well, also, she has this really tough position that she's in, which is like trying to prove that she's different than Biden and
Right.
also taking credit for all the good stuff that they did. So it's like she probably had nothing to do with our policy in the Middle East.
Mhm.
But then if you don't claim credit for that, then you can't claim credit for all the great laws that were passed. Of course, she was the tie-breaking vote on almost all of them, but
True. I
you really, like, you're not, I mean, technically as vice president, you're not really in charge of policy. But also I know that, like, her one interaction that was public with Netanyahu was much more hostile than anything we've seen Biden do.
yeah,
So it gave me the impression that she's a lot more, her tendency will be to be harder on Netanyahu
yeah,
than Biden. I mean, Biden's policies are kind of old school,
yeah,
American foreign policy. Not to say, to be honest with you, I think Biden is one of the best presidents we've ever had, and I think he gets no credit. And I don't know why she has to distance herself from him. I
right.
don't get it. I mean, it's just being old is not a crime. He accomplished more in his presidency with a razor thin congressional margin
Yeah,
than anyone since Roosevelt. And these policies were all to bolster and uplift the working and the middle class
yeah,
and
very odd.
rebuild the infrastructure, and the biggest climate change bill ever passed. And I could go on and on and on. And his climate, his American Rescue Plan, and bringing manufacturing back to the US. Like, I mean, it's just, and I don't know why his popularity is so low. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah,
Even still, but again, it's hard to really. I mean, I know you talked to one person that I can't believe they were undecided between Trump and Harris, because I think even people who are low information get Trump in their face.
right.
Maybe not Harris. I mean, she's been doing a media blitz, this like past week, and only like 1 in 3 undecided voters like saw, everything. I mean, she did the biggest things you could do. Howard Stern, 60 Minutes. Like, how much more high profile can you get?
I think she was willing to be on this podcast. I'm not sure. I mean, she did.
Yes.
Remember,
Well,
she
you know what?
wasn't doing interviews. She's hiding. Why are they hiding her? Jesus
I
Christ.
mean, the double standard. But I mean,
Crazy.
I've given up, like, to be honest with you, like, okay, so just to give you a little history on me and my activism and why you're
Please.
having me on this podcast or live stream is when Trump was elected in 2016, I basically lost my mind. And I started, you know, doing activism. And I was just like, I have to, this is the only thing that is keeping me sane is, you know, the guy who founded Field Team 6 actually is a friend of mine from the before times. And I remember bumping into him at a protest and he was like, I only feel comfortable screaming in the streets right now. And I was like, I get what you mean. So it's all about taking action. And, you know, I learned about advocacy. I formed a group, an action group, and we did all kinds of stuff. But I was all over the place. I was, you know, going to this text bank and this phone bank, and it was getting kind of unsustainable and out of control. And so my friend Jason founded this organization called Field Team 6, which started in 2019. So I was doing other stuff before then, but then it felt good to kind of streamline all of my activism into one organization, one cause, one place.
Right.
Because then what I did was I took on a role there that became kind of a day-to-day. And so what I kind of preach, because I give a workshop on, you know, kind of sustainable activism, and what I sort of preach to people is, you know, daily sustainable action that you sort of just work into your day-to-day life the same way you would with, like, maybe exercise or therapy or your job.
Yes.
You would just do this, even if it's 10 minutes a day, it just becomes part of your everyday life. And then you're sort of supporting democracy all the time. Not, you know, and I mean, I'm glad we're talking about this in the crunch time, but after the election, you know, we're going to continue just, you know, day-to-day action, continuing to whatever it is that's your interest, you know, you do it. So, and then, like, for example, I tell people, like, and this does apply to right now. There's so many forms of activism now that you can do that are digital. Like, if you're an introvert, you don't have to knock doors. You don't have to make phone calls. You can do texts, which are incredibly effective. In fact, at least within our organization, which is not a get out the vote organization, but it's a voter registration organization, our texts are more effective than any other form of contact besides email. Believe it or not, emails are effective, shockingly, because you get so many and you just delete them, right? But for some reason, and so what we do is we register Democrats. It's partisan voter registration, which is not done by any other organization in the entire country, nationally, the way we do it. So it's partisan voter registration in flippable and swing districts and states. And we were shocked to learn that most voter registration is nonpartisan, and it costs like if the Democrat. Okay, so let me give you a little background on how the organization was founded, because so again, I mentioned that I had worked with this friend, and you know, we were friends from a show that we had worked on together, and then we found each other after Trump was elected because he was screaming on Facebook, I was screaming on Facebook. I was like, oh, you know, so we, like, got back in touch over this. And he was a comedy writer like you, and he had basically quit his job and was like, I'm just going to do anti-Trump activism. Like, I'm just completely, you know, he, like, lost it, and kind of like I did too. And he finally got, like, he did a bunch of volunteering, but then he finally got a job working for the Democratic Party, registering voters in Orange County. And that was in person. And they he and this partner came up with this method where they could register only Democrats. And they have a bunch of tips that they give out to people now, which is like, wear a liberal t-shirt. It's a Republican repellent. Like they won't even come up to you if you're wearing like an Obama t-shirt or something, or,
Right.
and so anyway, they had this whole thing, and like no tables, you walk around, and there's a whole bunch of things that they learned, and they were incredibly effective to the point where they flipped Orange County in 2018.
Hmm.
And then the Democratic Party was like, okay, cool, you're fired. We'll see you in 2 years. And
Right.
Jason was like, what? This should be done year round. No one's doing this. Like, so he started. So
Right.
that's how Field Team 6 started. And it started as an
Nice.
in-person vote. Like he was just teaching people to do in-person voter drives and training people all over the country to do them, state specific laws, how to register people in, Texas, how to register, which is very hard, how to register people in Florida. It depends on what year that we're working. We have specific target states. But when the pandemic hit, suddenly they had to change the entire strategy, right? Because no one could do
Right.
in-person voter registration anymore. And so Jason and his cohort started buying data in various, like it was like unregistered college students, unregistered Black women, whatever. They started buying data, and we started digital voter registration. So now, now this has been going on since 2020. So now we're like a well-oiled machine. We have results from 2022, which were really strong. Like 1 in 3 people that we reached out to registered.
Wow.
And many of them voted because we use partisan persuasive messaging, and we're sending it to a curated list of people who would be receptive to that messaging.
Right.
They're more likely to register and then go out and vote because of the message that we've sent. So we haven't just said, gee, check your registration. We've said, if you care about, whatever, like we have a whole formula of messaging, but it's like things that matter to people. And we consider people that are unregistered as, low information. So it's like, here's does this issue this is something that will affect your day-to-day life. And if you want to do something about it, register and vote for Democrats. And then, depending on where we're writing to, sometimes it's, and I'm saying writing because I run the postcard program for Field Team 6. But you could be texting, you could be making phone calls, and, you can also still be doing in-person drives at this point but there, you might register 7 people and you could send, 1,000 texts in 5 minutes. And if you figure the 1 out of 3 registers, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's not bad. And
no, it's very
the
good.
key is matching the message with the target, and
Right.
being able to finally have the amount of detailed information that you need to be able to send a persuasive partisan message, I'm guessing.
Right.
So that's it's super fascinating. We popped it up for a second. Let's take another look at the current list of volunteer opportunities there, and give me an idea about the types of things that people still can do even today to get out there and help.
Okay, so even today, you can make phone calls, you can text, you can even still postcard. Our program is working you can send up until October 29th, because we're doing some get out the vote campaigns, even though we don't normally do that. And then we're also, hey sweetie, I'm on a thing. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We're marriage. This is how it goes. I'll give you a
This is
second.
like our podcast all over.
No, exactly. It's the beauty of it. I'm gonna give you a second. We'll pop you back on in just a second while you deal with some home stuff. But yeah, I mean, look, this is one of those great organizations when you hear a lot of people at the very last second talking about, oh God, I should have done something, or I could have done something. Here's something to do, people. Here is something to do. All kinds of opportunities still available for people who are feeling that feeling, that you may be feeling from seeing the news, the latest poll numbers, the vibe from social media, whatever you're ingesting out there, and however it's making you feel. And frankly, a lot of it is not making me feel super great right now. I decided, you know what? Here's what I can do. So I got involved with an organization very like this. And Sharon will bring you back if you got the home front, the home situation, taken care of.
This is why I was trying to hide in another room, but the internet was so bad I had to move. Okay, so yeah, so you can still do basically all the actions on here because
Yeah.
we're primarily a voter registration organization, and what people don't seem to realize, and all these other organizations that do this kind of work, is that you can't vote if you're not registered, which, by the
Right.
way, side note, it's a form of voter suppression.
Oh, yeah.
Why should you have to register? Why shouldn't you be automatically registered? I think North Dakota is the only state where people are automatically registered to vote as soon as they turn 18. But
Yeah.
anyway, as things are now, you have to register to vote. So we have, lots of volunteer opportunities right now. And we're working all the way up until election day because some states, you know, allow you to register and vote on election day. Some of the bluer states.
Mhm.
So we have we have lots of opportunities to. And what I'd said before about introverts, like if you don't like making phone calls and you might not want to knock doors, we have other opportunities where you can text, you can postcard, and
Oh,
you can postcard up to October 29th. So it's getting tight there, but all the other ones you can still do. And texting is actually an incredibly effective form of outreach for us,
interesting.
more than phone banking. Actually, I know phone banking used to be
Oh,
considered kind of the be
man.
all end all, but
I tried
um,
it. I swear I tried it. It was just, I there was something about it. I just couldn't keep going with it. But the
well,
postcarding has been really helpful
yes,
for me in the letter
exactly.
writing.
And that, so I give a workshop on sustainable activism, as I mentioned, and I
Mhm.
really urge people to find the thing that they will keep up.
Yeah.
So, I don't normally encourage people to grab the low hanging fruit, but in this case, I do. Will you keep doing it? Will you be able to add it to your life so that even after the election, maybe you'll write some postcards? You do 10 a week or something. Like, it doesn't have to be a lot. You know what I mean? It's whatever you're capable of doing, but it's just kind of keeping it going. And then, of course, right now, um, it being crunch time, sure, pick up any one of these things. I mean, I never liked phone banking either, but what I found amazing is that there are people out there who like doing the thing that you don't like doing. There are people who
Yeah.
love knocking doors. There are people who love phone banking. I remember going to a phone bank years ago when Trump was first elected and John Ossoff was running for,
Mm.
I think,
Congress, right?
yeah, like Georgia '06 or
Yeah.
something.
Well,
And
boy,
I went
if
to
you know
do
your
phone
Georgia
banking for
congressional
him.
districts, you may be too online, but go ahead.
Well, I may be too involved with voter registration.
Yes, exactly.
But I remember going to this phone bank at someone's house and sitting there the whole time going, please don't pick up, please don't pick up, please don't pick up. Like, that was in my head the entire time.
Right.
And I'm an outgoing person, you can see I'm not, but I
Yeah.
don't know, it's something about bothering people, I don't know what it is. But there was another guy there who was like, he must have been 25 tops, and he was amazing. He was like a salesman, and he was
Right.
he was charming, and he loved it, and he was like, hi, this is so and so from the Democratic Party, and he was like, beautiful. So what I'm saying is, you know, pushing yourself out of your comfort.
Oh, I think we pushed her right out of her comfort zone. Hold on. Sharon? Sharon, come back. Well, she really did push herself right out of her comfort zone and all the way out of the show. She'll pop back on. I know. But in the meantime, for those of you who are just joining us, I wanted to say thank you for watching. I'm a fan of democracy. I hope you're a fan of democracy too. And it's not too late to still do some things to protect democracy in 2024. I do certainly think that democracy is superior to most other forms of government, and I'd like to keep it, please. Thank you. Speaking of people I'd like to keep in my life, please and thank you. Please welcome back Sharon Lord Greenspan. Hi. You're
How
so
long was I
excited.
talking and I didn't know that I'd gone away?
You know what? Listen, I wasn't keeping score of that. You had an impassioned plea and were kind of flailing around, and I think that was kind of what led to accidental disconnection? I have no idea. Did you
Right.
hang up on
The
yourself?
stream
What
was
happened?
like, "Get your shit together, woman, and just cut me off."
No, no, no. The stream was great. It was so passionate. I loved it. I would have liked to have seen where it ended, but I'm glad you're back.
It ended with finding the thing that you like to do and you're good at, and
Yes,
doing it,
exactly.
and doing it
Um,
steadily. Just,
exactly. And
even after the election. Now, right now it's crunch time, so sure, pull yourself out of your
do
comfort zone.
anything. Do
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Do something.
What's weird is that it's hard to motivate, but once you do, you feel better because the outcome of the election is really out of your control. But what's right in front of you is something you can control,
Yeah,
and that's picking up a phone, texting someone,
yeah,
whatever. It
absolutely.
feels like it keeps you from losing your mind. Can I say something about the polls though?
Yeah,
Because
please. I
I,
would love it if somebody talked me off the pole edge. That would be great.
you want to be talked off the poll?
Well, you got to keep me off the pole, Sharon. You know how it goes.
Right. Didn't Chris Rock say that's the one and only
The
goal?
one,
It's like
keep
keeping
them
your
off the
child
pole.
off the pole.
Exactly.
Um, anyway, I've been so I've kind of left mainstream news,
Mhm.
um, and have switched over to these a lot of like newsletters,
Mhm. Yeah.
and people who really do deep dives into. I don't know. I just over the years I've been disappointed again and again by how mainstream media is covering this election and everything. And we talked a little bit about it before the stream about um, just how she's being covered like a regular candidate, and he's
A very
gets
special
to
book.
do whatever he wants. It's just
Yes,
so bizarre. And so I've like really been disappointed by the New York Times. I've been all these sort of papers of record, and so I follow everyone from the Lincoln Project, and specifically Rick Wilson, who I don't know if you're aware of him, but he was
of course.
a ad writer for he made ads, brutal ads for the Republican
Yeah.
Party that thank God he's on our side now, because now he's making brutal ads for us.
Yes.
But I he knows about the inner workings of the Republican Party, and he still talks to a lot of those people. And so I follow him a lot. And I just watched a little rant that he did about Poly Market and how
Yes.
they're and then another person that I follow is a guy named Simon Rosenberg, who's a Democratic operative
Opium.
who, yeah, and he
Yes.
basically was like one of the few people that predicted that there wouldn't be a red wave in 2022
Yeah.
that we all thought was coming. And that's because the Republicans are filling the poll aggregates with
Yes.
uh what's the word, like,
Trafalgar.
yeah, like
All these low quality, partisan
yes,
political polling
right,
numbers.
and like
Right.
right leaning polls, and they're doing it. And Poly Market, which is this betting um site, they basically have it's owned by Peter Thiel. So what does that tell you?
Yellow alert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also they have like four major, they call them whales, like big betters
Sure.
that keep putting their money toward Trump. And so it looks like Trump is going to win by like a landslide if
Right.
you look at Poly Market.
Right. The big money's
And
on Trump to win.
yeah, and it basically scares the living daylights out of Democrats and all of us. It's making us all really nervous, but I feel like the polls, you know, I just I still don't know a single person who's answered a poll.
True.
That's
And
probably because I live in California, but I don't know a
not a lot of
person
poll
who's
questions. And you don't answer calls from people you don't know, I'm guessing.
usually not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and
Sometimes it's
then
a job, which is never good. You
yeah,
listen to the message, they're like, "Hi, this is, Becky from 20th Century Fox. We were interested," and I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, Becky. So sorry." No, that has never happened to me.
it's never happened,
It might have happened
and it never will.
somewhere, but not to me. Um,
But yeah, so the polls just feel like and even I love the in the Michelle Obama clip that you played, she
uh-huh.
was like, "We're gonna get a bad
Yeah.
poll."
Yes.
Yes, and she's right.
Or
Because
do
when
something.
she did that speech, we were all riding high on the wave of
Oh my god. can we have the convention again?
I know.
And I think part of it, and tell me if I'm feeling this wrong, part of it is, frankly, the Liz Cheney of it all. That
Are you happy about the Liz Cheney of it all, or
no,
angry about
no, and I mean, look, I get it. Yes, she's a fan of the Constitution. We have that in common. Yay!
it?
But do I want Liz Cheney with a seat at the table in the Kamala Harris administration? I don't think her policy ideas are compatible at all with what I view as core democratic principles and values. And so the idea that the way to win this election is attack to the center so strong that you've not only ensnared Liz but Dick Cheney.
Right.
Maybe you've gone past the center, my friend. Maybe your idea of the center is a little out of whack. I mean, the coalition is big enough to hold AOC and Bernie Sanders and Liz and Dick Cheney. That's
Right.
a hell of a coalition. But I think a lot of the people on the AOC Bernie Sanders side of it don't want to be in bed with the Dick Cheney side of it, and are like, we've been calling these guys the devil and evil incarnate because they are for a long time, or at least their policies have led to really bad results for many, many decades now.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to see Harris, who had an unbelievable transition to being the candidate and an unbelievable convention and all of this summer energy. We're not going back. What happened to we're not going back? I don't hear that anymore. I don't see that or feel that. I feel like we are going back, and there's not enough people saying no, going back. We're not doing that anymore. And I don't want it to be a all vibes thing. To me, the only way I sleep at night is hoping for the secret Roe vote. The people who are so pissed about Roe that they're not going to tell their husband or their pollster that they would never vote for Trump again and are voting for Harris because that's the guy who took away what rights from women, literally.
Yeah.
And will get into the ballot box and in the privacy of their own ballot box say, "Bing, this is my vote for women's choice. Here it is." And I know that
all the last special elections that have happened since Roe, they've all gone our way, not even just a little bit, but like by a landslide, and even in red states.
Yeah.
So I think you're right to think that that's likely to happen.
Fingers
The other thing that we feel like, at Field Team 6, we talk about a lot is, and this is sort of related to the polling conversation, but also there's a resistance that formed in 2016. I'm not, Jason Berlin and I are not the only two people who sort of started doing this.
Yeah.
There's a whole resistance that's, going on under the radar in all these places, and the mainstream media is not aware of it, and they're not reporting on it, and it's not affecting the polling necessarily. But because I don't know how the polling is done, frankly, but I feel like there's this movement that is more powerful than anyone realizes because we keep winning elections.
Right.
But it doesn't show up in the preamble to the election.
I guess the bigger concern I have is that in 2020, every poll underestimated Trump. In 2016, 83% of the polls underestimated Trump.
Right. So that's what they're working on.
There's a little swamp, of late breaking racist, sexist voters who, would never let that woman tell them what to do.
Right.
Who are the same people who denied Clinton, the presidency when she was quite obviously the much more qualified candidate.
Right. But
I don't know. It's just we can't get over this freaking hump of, a qualified woman versus the least qualified human male on the planet right now. And I'm including the mentally incompetent, the brain dead, honestly, there are literally people on life support in hospitals who I would rather see as president of the United States and probably would do a better job than the current GOP nominee.
I marvel every once in a while. I mean, I still can't wrap my head around the fact that this doofus has wrecked everything and destroyed all of our, I can't relax.
I know.
Because of this man. And he's not even smart. He's like
Yeah.
conniving and weird. Like, I mean, I guess he's intelligent, like
Weird.
marketing wise or something. There's
It
like
is weird.
some kernel there, but he
Look,
just,
you mentioned before the New York Times. It doesn't help when, Trump gets out there and tells 10 minutes of dick jokes,
right.
and the Times reports it as he told golf stories. No,
Tell me about it. I canceled my subscription years ago because of that.
he didn't tell golf stories. He got out there and talked about the man's junk. But that's not, you can't just, you have to understand, it's not fair to, the first draft of history, as journalism likes to refer to itself,
Mhm.
for you to completely sanitize and, report, just the mildest, most favorable version of every single thing this doofus says. It's quite frustrating.
Well,
Um,
and the New York Times considers itself the gray lady, and
right,
they're too dignified, and they have to be
right,
fair and balanced. And it's like, I don't know. I think it makes sense to say that he's a threat to democracy, and here's why: because
yeah.
he's said all these things out loud. It's not like you're making it up or forming an opinion. Did you hear about the LA Times?
This is, again, as I think I posted, an act of betrayal and cowardice by a billionaire. Who could have seen it coming? You know, you know, imagine. Turns
Yeah.
out the billionaire guy who bought the Times is just like all the other billionaire guys. He wants the
Right.
tax cuts. He loves the tax cut. No, we're
Like,
not gonna I think this is a little too much. In California and LA, I don't know that we want to get out there ahead of the wave for couple. Let's withhold an endorsement this year just because Jesus Christ, man. I don't know what to tell you. If your reaction to the current situation is, I don't think we should be putting our thumbs on the scale. I
that's what the
what?
editorial board is for.
What? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so nonsensical. Just say you want the tax cut. It's okay. Like I
Yeah.
will at least respect you more if you just say, "Look, I bought the paper. It's my paper. I get to say what it wants to say. That's what owning the paper means, and I want the tax cut." Just say that. At least it's honest, as opposed to the, bullshit story they're trying to float about, well, we offered them the opportunity to give a layout of the two candidates' positions and let viewers and readers come to their own conclusion. Fuck that. Come on, man. We're not
Yeah.
stupid, you know?
Totally
Um,
agree. Totally agree. I
one
want
thing.
to,
Oh,
sorry, I
go
just
ahead.
want to respond to what you said about, there's some light. Okay, sorry,
Oh,
it's getting dark in here.
ladies and gentlemen, Sharon Lord is here. Wow. Sharon Lord Greenspan. Thank you for joining. That's awesome.
This is the least professional stream of all
Come on.
time on my end. Yours is amazing.
Please.
Um,
Got off to
okay.
a rough start, but it's recovered.
The Liz Cheney of it all, the Dick Cheney of it all, I find personally, I mean, you were talking about, the extreme left, saying that Kamala is responsible for genocide. And I feel like I don't think she's changing her policies by involving these people, because they're voting for her in spite of her policies, and they're supporting her in spite of her policies because she's the only candidate who won't become a dictator. She will, keep democracy alive. And that appears to me to be what the Republicans are on board with. I mean, like I said, I follow the Lincoln Project a lot,
Mhm.
and they're not considering themselves Democrats in terms of policy. They
No.
consider themselves a pro-democracy coalition. And so they're like caucusing with us until we can get back to normal politics. That's my impression.
Right. I would like that to be the case very much, but I just don't see that, the partisanship, you know, uh, set in is so strong that I don't know that you can convince, I don't know that it's worth the effort of bringing in a Dick Cheney if there's not that many R's who are going to press the D button, not become a D. We don't need Republicans to become Democrats. We do need a pro democracy coalition, and we need your vote this time. Same thing with the people who
That's
are
what
like,
Liz
I'm not
Cheney is
voting.
getting Kamala.
No, go ahead.
But Liz Cheney's giving Republicans permission to vote for her. That's what she's
Fingers
out there
crossed.
doing.
But will they take it? And that's my concern, is that there's
Good
the
question.
partisan lock-in is so strong that, it will take more than a Liz and Dick Cheney being like, it's okay, you guys, go ahead and vote for her. It's like,
Well, there's the whole Lincoln
no.
Project, which is that's all they do is focus
Right.
on, what do they call them? Red Dawn Republicans or something. They have a whole, like, they're
Something, yeah.
so targeted with who they're reaching out to, and it's
I hope they're there.
yeah, I mean, they're going crazy. I just, at this point, I don't want to be a purist. I want to welcome everyone into the coalition so that we can get her elected. I mean, the most important thing to me. That's why I can't at this moment be like, well, I don't. Yeah, I disagree with them. Liz Cheney voted with Trump like 9.
Right. Uh-oh. Oh, no. It's happened again. It's happened again. We are losing TV's Sharon Lord Greenspan. Sharon, are you there?
Again?
You did, sweetie. We miss you.
What's happening?
I'm glad you're back, but I don't know. I feel a little like I'm blacking out from time to time, and you go away and you come back, and I hope everything is okay there. But you're still with us. Sharon, you're still with us? Sharon, you're still with us? Well, she is still with us, whether or not she knows it. Well, that's a new perspective. I hope she knows she's still with us. Well, she's figuring it out. She may beam back in as she is wont to do. We'll give her that opportunity. She can come back and rejoin, and I hope she will. In the meantime, while we're getting towards the end of this, I did want to talk about the QR code that you're seeing in the upper right hand corner of the screen there, or maybe it's the left hand corner of the screen. I don't know. Sharon, I see you've rejoined, but I still do not see video from you. So somehow your camera has gone away. I don't know why. But that QR code, you're saying to yourself, Colin, what is the QR code in the upper corner of the screen, and why should I scan it? Here's what it is. I am fascinated by the world of the modern artificial intelligence. And I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, frankly. I think it could be both. I think it could be neither. But basically what we did was we took one of the hot new large language model AI, curation and outputting tools called Google Notebook LM. And what we did was it's a notebook. You can organize it with web pages, PDFs, videos. You can dump all kinds of like raw information into it, and then ask Google's, I believe it's their Gemini model, to go ahead and process it up in various forms. So you can get like, for example, my daughter brought home a PDF from her aeronautics class or aerospace class. I dropped in the PDF and had the program generate a quiz based on it and some bullet points and a timeline that did not exist in the text. And then I confirmed all the information was correct, and et cetera, et cetera. So for this experiment, and this is where we get to the QR code in the upper corner there, we put in Kamala Harris's plans, her actual plans for what she wants to do. And we put in Project 2025, which is as close as we've come to finding a Trump platform. Famously, they kind of got rid of their platform and just went for whatever this guy wants. Sharon, you're back with us, I hear.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I hear a little bit of myself, which I'm a little concerned about, but
I don't hear you very well now.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
I don't know what happened. I just keep dropping out.
Maybe earbuds? Maybe
I'm what?
Maybe earbuds would help? Are you on a phone or?
I am on a phone.
Yeah. I don't know.
I could
anyhow, let me I'll keep explaining about the project on the QR code there while you continue to adjust.
Okay.
And who among us does not enjoy watching people try to figure out live streaming while they're doing it? It's the best.
I'm so sorry.
You're fine. Don't worry about it. We're working out the bugs. Look, Sharon and I were podcasting long before podcasting was cool. Way back in the day. We're old school. So don't worry. Mommy and Daddy are not fighting anymore. Mommy and Daddy are on board together and ready to bring you home for Mamala. but so anyhow, back to the Google Notebook. So in the Google Notebook, you've got the Kamala Harris's economic plans and social plans and everything from her website. You've got Project 2025 and some other stuff about the Trump agenda, and you can generate a podcast. They will allow you to generate a podcast with a male host and a female host talking about podcasty kind of things. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. There's comments. Joni's still watching. Hi, Joni. How are you? Has anyone thought about our vice president becoming president if Trump is not there? Well, first off, he's not there mentally. But as Joni then says, Vance, please. Yeah, that's quite frightening. Not a great guy. But
that's another reason. Yeah.
He did write the foreword to Project 2025, which we're told has no connection to the Trump campaign whatsoever. Except for the author of the foreword was J.D. Vance. But I'm sure he, did it under duress or something. So anyhow, if you go and listen to this podcast, what you will hear, and we'll see if we can play a little bit of it here and just listen to it. This is a AI-generated conversation between two AI people who do not exist discussing the various candidates' positions in the 2024 election. Sharon, I will hit play. We'll listen. We'll pause. If you need to pause, give it a wave, and we'll see what they talk about. See if you can tell that these are made up people talking about real facts. Now, I did listen to this ahead of time and confirmed the factual accuracy to the best of my knowledge. To my understanding, there were no hallucinations in this. This seemed to be a fairly accurate representation of what's going on in the election. I will be interested in your thoughts. Can we roll the clip, please?
And we're tackling a mountain of info today.
Oh, yeah.
Campaign websites, policy documents, the think tanks are weighing in.
It's a lot.
And it can be confusing.
Especially if you're an undecided voter.
Exactly. You need to cut through all that before you hit the ballot box.
Absolutely.
So let's try to break it down. It is the classic showdown, right?
It is.
Kamala Harris's vision versus the GOP's Project 2025.
Yeah, and we're here to, kind of cut through the noise and really get to the substance.
Yeah.
Now, first off, I want to say this sounds a lot like one of our early podcasts, right? You can hear it, right?
It does. It's so weird because I just I'd never heard one of these before, or I thought I hadn't, and I actually came across something like this the other day, and I was listening to it, and then I was like,
do those
"There's
people
something
exist?"
off about this," and it was especially the guy. The woman sounds more real.
Right.
The guy sounds, yeah.
She sounds a little too real. But let's keep going. You can hear it fine, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here we go.
Forget the sound bites and the spin.
Totally.
We want to help you figure out what the actual impact is going to be on your life.
Exactly, because this is about you.
Exactly.
This is about your wallet, your freedom.
It's about your future.
Future, that's right.
We're going to go deep.
Let's go deep.
We're going to go deep on this stuff.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, they're going to go deep, Sharon. They're going to go deep on this stuff. Really deep. Like as deep as two non-existent entities can.
This is kind of blowing my mind, though. Like when you told me we were going to listen to an AI podcast, I thought it was going to be like
the TikTok narration. Yeah,
it's like it sounds more real than it should. The guy still sounds weird to me. The one I can't. He has what?
He has resting radio voice, I think.
Yes,
He's a little like, well, we're going to talk about the Kamala Harris's proposals now.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
Place to start, I think, is always the economy, right?
Always a big one.
Everyone cares about that.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's your paycheck. It's your job security.
Your ability to provide for your family.
That's it. So
that's what it comes down to.
Harris, she calls hers the opportunity economy.
Okay.
And a big piece of that is tax cuts for working families and middle class.
Yeah.
Especially through expanding things like the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit.
Okay, so help folks
out, but
always a but.
There's always a but.
Right.
To fund those cuts, she's proposing raising taxes on corporations and the ultra wealthy.
Okay.
Now, whether that sits well with you really depends on
where you fall
on that economic spectrum.
It's that age-old debate.
Yeah.
Redistribution of wealth, right?
Right.
Do you think it's necessary to level the playing field, or do you see it as government overreach?
Big questions.
Big questions.
Big questions.
Big
And
question.
dividing voters for generations really is
Yeah.
at the heart of this election. And
Heart of the
here's
election.
where it gets, I think, especially interesting. You know, if you're
Yeah.
concerned about jobs,
Right.
Goldman Sachs,
Okay.
a pretty respected name in the finance world,
Sure.
they are predicting that a Harris win could add 10,000 to 30,000 more jobs
Wow.
per month.
Per month.
Yeah,
That's significant.
compared to a Trump win.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's not chump change.
It's not nothing.
It's something to think about.
Now, we should say
Yeah.
these are projections.
Projections, not
Okay, so Sharon, this
Okay.
is your first AI podcast. How are you feeling? How is your mind feeling? How screwed are we?
I'm feeling a little dirty.
Yeah. Good.
But like, because I need to, like, the way he said 10,000 jobs, and I was like, 10,000 jobs, that's nothing. And he went, per month.
Per
Like,
month.
he even had the ability to, it had the
The-
ability to, like, create suspense. And then it's almost, it's like borderline a joke, like a
Yes,
borderline joke. It
right.
almost became, because I was like, 10,000 jobs. And then, yeah, and then and then they said, what was the other thing they just did that sounded so realistic?
Yeah. They have a lot of little ticks that are designed to mimic human speech, but
Right.
you go to the well too many times on one repeating just what the other just said. If you continue to listen through, it'll be like, and that's what her policy does. Yeah, her policy does. Yeah. You know, it's a lot of that, like, agree and, you know, it must be something that we do in language that we don't notice that we do it that often. But when you listen to
Yeah.
this, you'll hear it, you're like, over and over again. You're like, okay, yeah, we get it. You don't have to keep, you know, whatever the algorithm is that's having you do that little repeating gag, uh, turn that down by 70%. It's, you know, too much. Just have them talk back and forth with each other without the repetition gag for verisimilitude. You're trying to add, you know, a little bit of like human speech thing, and the slider is a little bit off right now. But
Yeah.
you want to listen to a little more? Are you
Sure,
intrigued?
sure.
Or I mean,
Yeah,
why not?
well, I'm just not sure why anyone would want to listen to an AI podcast,
To me,
though.
this is the kind of thing where, like, okay, I want to find out what their policies are. I'm driving. I don't even care. Just give me the breakdown of what he's going to do versus what she's going to do. Well, like what their
Right.
plans are.
That's
at midnight.
actually helpful in terms of, like,
This
like,
is, yeah,
I mean, because it is keeping it very simple. Like when she said tax cuts for middle and working class people.
right.
I just had a postcard writer said, send me we give them scripts, but sometimes people want to rewrite them and we let them because we want them to do what, we want them to feel good about what they're doing. And so this guy wrote to me and he said, I want to write that Kamala Harris wants to prevent tax increases on the middle and working class. And it's certainly a better way to, I mean, and now a better way to say it is she wants to cut taxes for the working and middle class.
Right, exactly.
Like, it's just complicated when you say it that way, but
He's not wrong. You know, I mean, I
right.
saw a great graphic from Harry Enton on CNN today, you know, showing how actually what Trump's proposing is a tax increase on the bottom 0 to 20 and 20 to 40 percentile income earners. It actually, taxes will go up for them, while the Elon Musks of the world get to keep all that extra money. The Patrick Song, you know, like Patrick Song, I think is his name, who owns the Times.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he will get to keep an extra 60 million a year out of his $1 billion fortune. You know, it's like,
that's chump change to them. It's like, why do they
I guess it
even?
adds up, right? Over time, this is how you get to be a billionaire, right?
Yeah, I keep hearing that,
You
like
use
the
all the tricks.
cheapest people in the world.
Seriously, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you ever sit around and just like fantasize? Maybe you do. Like, you know, you go to the gas station, you see that the Powerball is up at 872 million. But what would you do with your 872 million? You know, I mean,
Right.
there's got to be more fun things to do. Mine is to lease out the Hollywood Bowl for a lease event of all of my favorite bands.
Oh, that sounds, yeah, that
And
sounds
you
amazing.
know, I would invent, you know, the 10,000 people would be me, my friends, and the band's friends, and whatever. We'd sell public tickets for the rest. but it would be like Colin Palooza. I would very much enjoy that.
Well, I kind of want you to win the Powerball now.
I know. Come on.
So I can go to that. That
we
sounds
would
fun.
do fun things.
Yeah.
With it, but not lobby for more tax breaks for my environment destroying rocket company to despoil the Texas beaches. No, that's not what I would be doing with my money.
No.
Hey, this Elon Musk guy really turned out to be a piece of shit, didn't he?
A dipshit.
Yeah.
Did you hear
Jumping
that?
up and down like a dipshit.
Skipping around like a dipshit. The way he said it was so funny.
The best.
It was like SHYAT. Yeah.
Listen, people I know and love have Teslas. So I want to be very careful about what I say here. But that's a Nazi mobile. That might just be a Nazi-powered automobile.
Well,
it may be time for them to get the old Nazi treatment. Like, do not patronize this guy's universe in any way, shape, or form, because all you're doing is helping bad things happen.
I agree. He's very dangerous. Like the owning of all the satellites.
Yes.
That freaks me out.
Yeah.
But my mom bought a Tesla in 2013.
People I know
before he was before he was a dipshit.
See, that's the thing. He probably was a dipshit. We just didn't know it.
Right.
He was just
keeping his
South African business guy. Turns out, might be what a bizarre twist. It's not that bizarre a twist.
No, it's not. Ugh. Yeah.
And he's just a bad guy.
Yeah, like a genuinely bad person.
Dude,
yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, why? You have everything, sir.
I read his biography, actually. My mom passed it along to me. And
is it the Walter Isaacson one? Or
yes.
Yeah.
And he is a fucked up person.
Yes.
And doesn't seem happy and probably never will be. And he comes from a really fucked up family. And his father was a conspiracy theorist and a racist and all these things. So he comes to it by heredity.
Something about those PayPal guys, man. There was something going on there. I don't know what, but it's not good.
It's not good.
It's not good. Would I rather have PayPal today or Gawker? I'd rather have Gawker, quite frankly.
Oh my God. What was that other offshoot of Gawker that I loved so much?
Not Jezebel.
No. That'll come. It was so funny.
Yeah.
It was where you would just go on and comment about shows that you were watching, but it was like the comments were so funny. It was like, how is it not that these people aren't all writers on
Pity, was it?
What?
Television Without Pity was a very similar.
No, I'm gonna have to look it up and send it to you. I feel like such a dumb thing to bring something up and then not remember it, but I can't remember anything.
Old, my friend. That's called my day-to-day life. I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, listen, I want to talk about a sponsorship and then we'll wrap it up. You and I have been going for about an hour here, and I really appreciate all of your time. But we do have a sponsor for Red, White, and Dew. It's Mountain Dew Liberty Chill, ladies and gentlemen. Mountain Dew Liberty Chill, because Liberty is definitely being chilled in America right now. And the original idea for this show was Mountain Red, White, and Dew, where I would just try a new flavor of Mountain Dew every day and talk about the news of the day. About what was going on and etc. And then it was pointed out to me, I thought your show was Red, White, and Dew, like do something. And I'm like, that's actually a better idea. That's not just me drinking beverages and making jokes. It's actually trying to have an impact on something that might help our poor country in its time of need. And so we will close with the question we want to ask all of our viewers, people who are watching this either live or later. What did you do to help defend democracy today? Did you do anything? Did you do something? There are things you can do. And so we encourage you to take some sustainable action, some small steps. You do not have to visit 5,000 houses over the weekend, but join Sharon, myself, and people who are truly concerned about the future of this country in at least doing something, a little bit. Every bit helps, and the margins are going to be so small this time. you just can't wake up on November 6th and say, God dang it, I should have sent 10 more letters, or, whatever it is. Just leave it all out there on the playing field.
Yeah, I think
Right.
the important thing for people to realize is that if everybody does a tiny bit, that
Mhm.
has a huge effect. So when you think about doing something, becoming active, it doesn't have to feel like this major step. It can be literally 10 minutes of your time. Even we have a thing at Field Team 6 where you can social storm, which means you're posting to social media, but in a way that affects the algorithm and gets things in front of people, that it's a planned way of getting a message out.
Mhm.
So yeah, and that's one of the things on this volunteer opportunities page. And the ballot curing thing is something we just added. That's really cool. You basically, now this isn't phone banking. You call people and you help them fix their ballots before it's
Oh,
too
right, right,
late.
right, right.
Yeah, so that's a good one. And I think that goes on even after election day. I think that continues on even after election day. So there's lots of things you can do. You never have to leave your house. If you're an introvert, you don't want to talk to people, there's still lots of things you can do.
That is
Um,
the social storm stuff we're looking at right now. This is the current social storm. Oh, there it is, Project 2025. Oh my goodness, yikes!
yeah, and
Uh,
we've got Paula Poundstone as a
oh, she's great.
spokesperson.
She is
Yeah.
she is fantastic. And the ballot curing, boy, tough to say that there could be something more important than this. If you now tell real quick for the people who are new or first time voters, what is ballot curing?
So if you hand in your ballot and there's something wrong with it, but it's just a
Mhm.
technical issue, I mean, that would be it. Like the something about you filled something out wrong, or you filled out two bubbles instead of one, or something like that. You can call people, and so in other words, they won't just throw out your ballot in certain states. Um, in certain states, you can call people and tell them that there's something wrong with their ballot and have it fixed before, so that their vote counts.
Right. Yeah, that's
And so
a
that's basically what ballot curing is.
right. And here on the Field Team 6 site, we've seen links to swing states, Arizona, Michigan, places where you can go out and help people get their ballot fixed and counted.
Yeah.
Which is so important. Every single one of these, I mean, as I wrote in a couple of my letters for Vote Forward, it's not too long ago that we literally had a presidential election decided by fewer than 600 votes. I mean, that's what the stakes are. You know,
Yeah.
it can be that close. If if we are not using every available resource that we have to do everything we can, we gotta get out there, and it is not too late to take action. And so, if
It
you took a
really
look at
isn't
this,
too late.
exactly, if you took a look at this video today and saw it, I wanted to say thank you. I definitely wanted to say thank you to my old podcasting partner, Sharon. Sharon, you are the best. I appreciate
You're
you
the
coming
best. We
on.
got to get something going again.
We listen. I'm what, 12 days till the election. I'm available. Well, let's keep going. We can continue to help encourage people to get out there, show them the newest opportunities, make sure people understand there are still things you can do. Do not sit at home. Do not feel helpless. Do not feel doom and gloom. As the great Michelle Obama said, and she'll take us out with this: do something, as we like to say. Sharon, thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.
Kamala's mother told her, don't just sit around and complain, do something. So if they lie about her, and they will, we've got to do something. If we see a bad poll, and we will, we got to put down that phone and do something. If we start feeling tired, if we start feeling that dread creeping back in, we got to pick ourselves up, throw water on our face, and what?